It is time for me to defeat the Undead King and take the Rite of Steel. For glory! Oh, holy f***. Now is not the time for fear. For glory! Vanishing Realms is an immersive RPG for the HTC Vive virtual reality. Now, this is my first virtual reality game review, so I won't be talking about things that are inherent to the virtual reality device itself. Things like it being an incredibly immersive experience, it being kind of unlike anything we've ever seen before, as well as the motion controls being extremely accurate. I would highly recommend that if you have the money, definitely go out and get one of these virtual reality devices. They are awesome and a lot of fun to play with. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about Vanishing Realms. So Vanishing Realms drops you into this dungeon-like adventure experience where you play as a character and work your way through this dungeons, fighting enemies, finding trinkets, collecting gold, and trying to progress your way through to the end of this gauntlet-style adventure. The controls are fairly simple. You use each of the Vive controllers to control each of your two hands, picking up items, using weapons, and things like that. As well, you use the teleport feature by pressing the middle button on the Vive controller to point and click to where you want to teleport your room space to. There are all sorts of gameplay elements that the virtual reality allows you to do that in Vanishing Realms they've capitalized on and done really well. Picking up items and gold throughout the world is really intuitive. You just move your control over it, press the trigger to pick it up, and you can pick it up and manipulate it around, and it works really well and is very immersive. A lot of the puzzle elements in this game revolve around the use of fire and carrying a torch and lighting things along your way, other torches, candles, bonfires, and things like that to open up new areas to get to. This is fairly simple, but feels so cool to be able to do, actually raise your hand and light things on fire with a torch. And of course, the most exciting part of this game, the combat. Early in your journey, you'll pick up a sword and shield that you can use to engage in hand-to-hand combat with a various amount of enemies. This is extremely immersive. You feel like a real badass swinging your sword around, and when it makes contact with the enemy, it'll go as a block, or you'll actually make contact with them and do damage. The motion controls are so crisp and so intuitive that these battles can be so exciting. The first time that I actually got damaged in this game, the big guy you're going up against thrust a sword looked right through my gut, and I was almost scared that but I'm actually okay because it's just virtual reality. That's how immersive these battles can be. The story goes in Vanishing Realms that you are some sort of chosen one and to progress through this level, defeating the Undead King and collecting all sorts of gold along the way, and then finishing the Rite of Steel at the end, which is a sort of gauntlet type challenge. This plays out through different scrolls that you'll read as you progress through these levels, kind of telling you in cryptic, almost poetic language what you're doing as you go through this game. I would have liked to seen some more emphasis on some of the story in this RPG game. The role you're taking on is kind of unclear. It's definitely overshadowed by a lot of the other exciting actual gameplay elements in the game, but it's all not really given that much context. And the story that it is given to you is kind of in this cryptic, again, poetic language that's kind of hard to discern. You got to think about it for a moment to actually get the gist of what it's trying to tell you. From your first moments in Vanishing Realms, you'll be immediately immersed in this interesting setting. It's so hard not to really feel like you're there in this virtual reality device, and the setting that they've created for this game is kind of creepy. There's this horror element, suspense element as you progress through this game. I can remember the first time I saw an enemy, I nearly shit my pants. I was so scared this thing coming at me. It's like, holy shit. Because that's how well they've set the scene in the early moments in the game, so that kind of suspense continues throughout the rest. They've kept the layout of this game fairly simple, which makes a lot of sense given the fact that a lot of players won't be used to the teleportation movement style and actually moving around in the physical space to look around things. You do a good job of managing the difference between wide open areas and little cramped spaces, but so that you're never really feeling lost in an area that's too big or feeling too claustrophobic like you have to, creep between little cracks in the walls. A all the different puzzle elements and things that you'll need to collect along your journey, including keys and different items and stuff, are laid out in such a way that when you stumble across them, it feels like you've actually made a discovery rather than, oh, this is where the game is pushing me along. But it's also not really hard to miss all these things. It's an interesting balance that they've managed to strike between player discovery, but also making sure that nobody gets lost. There are a couple of basic enemy types that make for interesting battles and some really exciting combat, but what really gets this game going is when you come up against the final bosses. Both the Undead King and when you get to the end of the gauntlet, these enemies come alive and they're kind of scary with one-shot kill attacks that really make you focus in, and once you defeat them you feel like such a hero, such a badass. You would almost celebrate. Yeah! And when you come up against these bosses, it feels so much like real life that when I was almost starting banging my shield trying to get myself fired up before going into battle. In classic RPG fashion, they've added a bunch of collectibles to find throughout this game, which add little incentives to explore the levels deeper with some additional weapons, some gold, with extra things that you can buy to just help you to get through the game, to provide a little bit of a diversion, giving you some sort of incentive to look through each nook and cranny of this immersive world. The graphics, I would say, are about as good as they can be without being too strenuous on your system so that it can be as accessible to as many players as possible. Vanishing Realms isn't like some other games that you look at and you go, oh, well, they've really dumbed down the graphics just to make sure that people's performances improve. They've managed to find a good balance here. The graphics aren't anything to write home about, but they are good looking enough that you don't find yourself getting kind of grossed out or weirded out by looking at some weird polygons. The one thing I will say though is that I did start to get some frame rate issues when I got into some of the more wide open areas. No problems, and it worked really smoothly when I was in the kind of enclosed dungeon areas, but as soon as I got outside I started to notice the frame rate drop and almost got a little bit sick, so watch out for that. There are a few drawbacks to Vanishing Realms. The enemy AI can be really simplistic. They repeat the same patterns over and over again, especially that big bulky guy with the chain who swings it around. He only has 2 attacks, so you can almost expect when it's coming and counter it, making the battles really easy and a little bit less immersive than some of the other elements in this game.
Stupid undead, I can defeat thee with only one arm.
The game is real short, maxing out at around 2 hours of gameplay, and not really worth another playthrough because you won't be surprised by any of the puzzle elements and you'll know how to defeat the enemies that much easier, and it won't be as fun as your first time through. So I wish there was more to this game. I know they're going to be coming out with some more chapters to Vanishing Realms in the future, but as of right now, it's just much too short. Overall, Vanishing Realms is one of the most immersive experiences I've had playing a video game in my entire life. It is so much fun to go through it. It feels like real life. You feel like such a badass playing this game. The only problem is that I wish there was much more to this game. For that reason, my final verdict to Vanishing Realms is an 8 out of 10. A great game. Yes, you're only going to get about 2 hours of gameplay out of this game, but that 2 hours is going to be probably some of the most fun you've ever had playing a video game. And that's why I'm also giving Vanishing Realms my Yes Guy guarantee. Definitely go out and get this one if you have the HTC Vive device. It is going to be well worth your time, and you're going to have so much fun playing this game. Well, that's it for Vanishing Realms. I gotta thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely check out some of my other reviews on this channel in these 2 annotations right here. But again, thank you so much for watching, and we definitely hope to see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming.